Hey guys, it's Dan or aDrive here, bringing you guys a quick little commentary over some digital gameplay for the Elestrals app. I hope to have an update this week soon for some other stuff regarding backer kit and everything, so stay tuned for that. But I wanted to get you guys some gameplay as our team's been working really hard on developing the kind of digital app and getting it ready for you guys. We've rolled it out to just maybe 15 people so far. We're going to continue to increase that number over the coming weeks. And then, of course, every single backer is going to get access to it when we move to beta, which is going to be Q2. But before I go too much further, I wanted to give you guys a little kind of deck breakdown. And if you want to see any specific types of decks, let me know in the comment section below so I can kind of create some and practice with them and show you guys breakdowns and all that good stuff. Oh, and if you enjoyed this, be sure to tell a friend, as we're obviously trying to make Elestral something super duper awesome. So here's the deck, and this is the deck builder in app right here. It is a mill deck. So the objective of a mill deck is to make it so your opponent has no cards left in their deck to draw, and ultimately you win as a result of that. There's two particular win-con strategies in Elestrals. One is to have your opponent deck out, or the other main one is that they run out of spirits and they can't do anything or they get hit directly. So in the context of a mill deck, you're again just milling the cards off the top of their deck, sending them to the underworld, and essentially stopping them from being able to do what they want to do. So the core of this deck runs around Cinder, which every time it receives a fire spirit, they have to mill or send 3 cards from the top of their deck to the underworld. And every deck in Elestrals is 40 cards in the main deck. So you know you have to just mill down approximately 34, 35 cards after they draw their initial hand, and you can win the game from there. So that's really the objective. Humbust will mill 2 every time a rune is played, but only up to 4 activations per turn. But that can force your opponent to be in a really awkward position in terms of how they play their runes, and it obviously allows you to kind of stack your deck in an effective way. So the way this deck works really is about getting those Cinders or Humbusts onto the field, and then utilizing cards like Nectar of the Gods and Drops of Leith to refresh your hand, using things like Tsunami, Shield of Achilles to prevent the attacks, and then using the Nexus mechanic through Circle the Sky and Altar of Stars to activate those effects multiple times, give you hand advantage, and basically just mill all the cards out of your opponent's deck as fast as possible. I don't think this deck is necessarily like S tier by any means in set 1, but I do think it has some viability. The one thing I will note is I am playing against one of the starter decks, so I think I kind of had an advantage in that regard. But nonetheless, I think this gameplay really shows kind of what mill can do, and I thought it was really fun, and I just wanted to show the app, to be honest. All right, so this game is up against Orange from Discord, and we're just kind of discussing who's gonna go first. I get a pretty spicy first hand, if we're being honest, that allows me to throw down my Small Tuga. Right out the gate, Small Tuga gets cast into defense position, and I can search out whatever mill card I want. In this case, I grab Humbust. And again, I kind of set myself up for a really effective turn 2. I'm gonna set down 2 runes because I know that rune destruction is a thing, and I want to make sure I'm protected. Like, it's really important that your back row gives you the turns that you need to effectively activate this combination and come out on top. So I kind of play that really nicely. He ends up targeting my Shield of Achilles, so I do lose that to the Thunderstorm, but that's not a trade that I care too much about at this stage of the game. Then he's gonna play out the Foliage Forest to get an attack buff on all of his Earth Elestrals, and then gonna throw down the Equal Links and choose not to Nexus to go after my second one. But unfortunately, the Equal Links is sitting at 5 attack with the Forest, and thus is not able to hit over my Small Tuga, which has 5 defense, which is really good. So my turn, I get to draw. I'm gonna throw down the Humbust right away, which is a pretty straightforward play for me. Then I activate Nectar of the Gods, and then he's forced to mill 2. I get to draw 2 as a result of that. I pick into a second Nectar, and I decide, okay, it's much smarter here for me to play the Divine Rune Hephaestus. By doing so, I end up casting it with a total of 3. You can cast up to 3 when you play it, and that's gonna allow me to search out my artifacts. And as you can see, I'm still milling, so I just milled another 2 cards with Hephaestus, and I can easily, throw those onto him and have this really cool Divine Rune that allows me to now search my deck for a Hammer of Hephaestus, and I can do some really cool things with that. So I just go grab the Hammer right away. I disenchant, and that's another, another card I can play onto the field and do some really cool things with, and obviously force more mill. I think I end up doing that, and this is where the deck I think really shines if I make the play that I think I made. So I end up playing, I'm kind of thinking about what I want to do. I end up playing the Hammer, I'm pretty sure, and then I end up using the spirits from the Hammer to play Nectar of the Gods. So I'm just double checking at this point that they milled everything they were supposed to. But if you don't know, both runes and counter runes can actually be played and enchanted with spirits that already exist on the field. So I'm just double checking with him that I did 2, because Humbust has a limit of 4, so you can only mill 4 activations per turn, or 8 cards per Humbust. So I say, okay, I'm playing Hammer. That's my third one. Hammer goes on to the Humbust. Again, I'm just doing this to force the mill, so I'm waiting for him to mill those 2. And then, again, I'm going to utilize the spirits from the Hammer to play my Nectar of the Gods now, because in this context, I don't actually need the Hammer, right? Like, I'm only playing the Hammer because it was searchable by Hephaestus, and it activated Humbus. So I get a really, really good play here. I'm gonna just throw him in the Spirit deck and then play it that way, because again, we're still sandbox mode here. So I get to draw 2, I get to hit another Humbust, and I'm in a really phenomenal position here because of that. And I still have defensive play. I think at this point I decided to end because there was really no reason to keep playing. I think I might set a card or two just as a decoy. And I do end. So really, really good turn for us, right? Like I got the full 8 Humbust hits on that turn, on turn 2, right? So like my opponent is already down. You can see I'm counting, like trying to count. My opponent is already down like a tremendous amount of cards in their deck. You're thinking 8 plus the 6 that they drew, 7 that they drew now, plus what's on the field, or 7 that they drew plus the 8. So like we're at like 15, I think, something like that, roughly. So we're almost halfway milled, and we're essentially turn 2 or turn 4. So they go for the attack with the Tectorus. I have Tsunami, which is so good in this deck. Tsunami's gonna negate those attacks, put them all in defense position. They can't have their position changed once we're in battle phase, so they're not able to do anything at all. So I draw, I go disenchant, and I grab the second hammer. I'm only running 2 hammers in this deck, so I get the hammer, easy peasy. And now I'm in a situation where I can start to get really kind of crafty with some of these, right? So I'm gonna say, you know what, I'm gonna use one of the spirits from Hephaestus. I don't need Hephaestus anymore. I'm gonna snag one of those spirits, and now I'm gonna cast on top of that, I think is what I end up doing, but I might have said never mind. I'm not entirely positive there. But I'm trying to play Drops of Leth, right? That's my objective at this point. Like, how do I play Drops of Leth? So I end up playing the, actually, I think I end up playing the hammer and not getting rid of Hephaestus, and then I use from hammer, yeah, that's what I end up doing. I end up snagging the spirits from hammer again to play drops. So I get a mill, and then I get another mill with the drops. I get to use the same spirits again, because again, counter runes and invoke runes can pull from spirits that are already on the field. So most times that's not super good, right? Because you want your field presence and stuff, but like, I don't need these hammers. I'm only playing them to activate Humbust effect. So I get my drops, I get another good hand out of this. I get another Tsunami, which is huge. I get an Ambrosia, which is amazing, right? I'm getting 3 spirits back and milling 2 more cards. So just massive W's all around. Like we're actually in a really good spot here. So I end up saying, okay, I'm gonna snag those back. We're good to go, super clean, and then I'm just confirming that was 3. I'm really bad at typing on this keyboard. So okay, I have the option now. I think I hold this. Do I play the circle? I do play the circle. So I end up playing Circle the Sky off of Estus to hit for the 4th. So I've successfully milled, I think, 8 times in 2 turns on the Humbust, and I only have 1 Humbust on the field. So if I had 2 on the field, you can imagine how strong that would be. But as I am saying, like, I am playing against a starter deck, right? So I think if this was against like a full-blown deck, there's definitely counterplay, a little bit more counterplay, just because I think the Elestrals are a little stronger, things like that. There's this server glitch right now where when you change positions, they do disco. That's simply a server thing. We're fixing that. We're an alpha, man. You know what I'm saying? We're still an alpha. But I think a meta deck would be able to kind of stop this, or at least have a better chance at it. The thing that this deck does, though, that's so cool is like, you're nullifying pretty much every counter rune in the game, right? Outside of Poison Tipped Arrow, you don't care about counter runes with this deck because you're not really gonna ever attack. You mess up so many strategies. Like one of the main meta decks right now is Voltempest, and they're only gonna run 1, maybe 2 Voltempest. And if you mill that Voltempest, you ruin their a lot of their strategy. So I hit another Tsunami here because it's such a good card. Facing a water deck, you get run over, right? Like if my opponent has Mustations, I'm shredded. So don't watch this and think that mill is like S tier because it's not. But I do draw into the shield, and I think what I end up doing here is like I recognize I'm pretty close to late game, so I know that I need to. I end up messing up how I move this around, but I know I need to draw into something here, probably like a Cinder or a Humbust. I think I end up getting the draw off this. I have a little trouble setting this up here, moving this spirit around, but I think I end up getting the draw off this. Then I think I end up casting the Small Tuga and just grabbing the Cinder, recognizing I think at this point I was like maybe 6 cards away. Like I was really close. I draw Altar and I'm like, all right, that'll be good enough because I have the extra spirits in the field. So I just play the Small Tuga into defense. I'm gonna be able to snag a Cinder because Cinder's gonna hit for 3 instead of 2. So I felt like having the Cinder was actually a better play for me. So I throw it into my hand here, and then I think I end up just setting the other 2, and I'm just like, sorry, bud, you're not gonna be able to do anything because I could just bounce everything back. So I get to just go for end here, and their deck is very, very thinned out at this stage. I've completely obliterated almost any strategy they can utilize. Again, their counter runes are essentially useless against me at this point. Disco Tectorus is back doing all the spins. I'm trying to count, like, I'm like, how many away am I? But I know that I have Alter and I have Shield, so like they're not getting through these attacks at this point, right? Like, you know, I can Alter on one and then Shield the other, which is what I end up doing, right? So goes after the Humbus with the Equal Links, and I'm just like, I'm just gonna Alter. So I get to get a free mill 2 here, change the Equal Links position, move the Spirit around, and think of how effective this would be if this was Cinder instead, right? Like, if Cinder was on the field receiving the Fire Spirit, we're talking about an extra mill 3 on top of that, right? So you can see how it stacks. Like, it stacks pretty well. I feel like it's really fun. So then he's like, all right, I'll attack with Tectorus, and I'm like, no, you're not. I think I end up using Smoltuga's Spirits here to play Shield of Achilles. Because I was counting the 40, and I was like, I was a little unsure, so I say, you know what? Let's just make sure I'm in a good spot here just in case. I think yeah, I'm only allowed to do 1 actually, so I end up kind of messing up a little bit because my Smoltuga had 2. So you can only do 1 because I'm paying the cost for Shield, and then Shield requires expend afterwards. So since Smoltuga had 2, I was able to snag 1 from it, and then I can expend the other one, and then I fulfilled the cost of Shield of Achilles properly. So I kind of messed up there, but I was able to bounce the Tectorus back, and I think I ended up keeping the Smoltuga, or I don't know what ended up happening there, but I don't know what I ended up doing, but I know I got the W here, right? Because I could just play Cinder at this point, Cinder into defense. He's forced to do another 3 on the mill, and I know he's got like 2 left or whatever it is. He's so low. I'm trying to count him, like, where is he at? He's got to be like really low. I think he had like 2 left in his deck. It wasn't anything significant. So I think I just end up doing end here because I can't play Apple. I don't have anything to discard. So Apple would have won here, but I couldn't play it. So I'm just like, just double checking my math. And then I think on his turn, I just, what do I do? Oh yeah, I know what I do now. I actually rise. I think I rise and pull out. Do I rise for a Cinder or something? Or was that the following turn? I'm trying to remember. Oh yeah. I think I end up using, yeah. I think actually this is an illegal play. I actually think this was an illegal play. It doesn't end up mattering because I had the game, but I think what I just did was an illegal play. I'm not gonna lie. Now that I watch it back, I have to double check the ruling on this. I have to double. He was milled out anyway, so it wasn't gonna matter because he milled out to the. It actually doesn't matter because he milled out to the Humbust, not to the Cinder. But either way, I have to actually double check the ruling on that. Give me a sec. Okay, so just some clarity. You cannot pay the spirits for Rise from Elestrals in the field and then revive them from that. I realized that I did that, and you can't actually do that. I think in my head, I like forgot that there was a Cinder, not a Cinder in my Underworld, so I just grabbed it. But again, it didn't make any difference on the gameplay. So we ended up winning there anyway because he milled the 2 from Humbust, and then by the time he would have drawn on the following turn, he would have lost. So overall, super fun game and a little bit of action of what mill looks like in Elestrals, which again, I don't think it's S tier by any means. I think it's a fun deck that you can certainly run and mess around with. But I think like a proper meta deck probably stomps it at this stage of the game, but we'll be looking to add some more mill cards in set 2, so stay tuned for that. Keep an eye out for updates this week on backer kit and everything else, and thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what kind of decks you want to see in the future, and keep an eye out because we're going to be adding some people in for more alpha testing very, very soon. Thanks for watching.